2016. He was stationed at the notorious Fort Hood, Texas, as I was, as well as Fort Bliss. During his service, he was deployed twice. He did Iraq and the long haul in Afghanistan. So thank you for that, brother. In addition to pursuing his master's degree, he also works full-time for the Military Entrance Processing Station, better known as MEPS. So please give a round of applause to my brother Larry.
I am honored and humbled to celebrate our First Amendment rights with all of you today. Who in their right mind would allow me in front of a crowd with a live microphone and permission to say anything I want to? Nobody. My wife Jess and my mother and father are here, and they themselves know their presence will not deter me from being profound. I have been to many of these presentations, but this is the first one where I'm part of the display. When you are asked to present at occasions like this, you assume the role of the display until it is your turn to speak. Then you move to the podium, deliver the message you desire over the public address system, then return to your assigned position of the display. Some of the members of the display do not get to say anything, and the best part about being in the display is you get to sit down. There are many loved ones here today in support of myself and the other members of the display, and they have the same thought. Sitting down is good. For 6 years, I was told to stand in front of the display in the rain, the cold, the heat, the wind, the snow, standing on grass, mud, concrete, gravel, dirt, sand, and in a puddle, while a member of the display went on to thank people I never met, organizations I've never been in, and to deliver a message they thought was gripping and was important. Only the audience, the one I was a part of, had been standing around for 2 hours before the display member attempted to enlighten us with points they tried to make. It was at this juncture I realized rank does not translate to public speaking. When I was voluntold to attend these displays, I made a promise to myself, thinking of speeches while staring blankly at the back of someone's head. If I ever had the opportunity to be part of the display, I would thank every conceivable person I ever met, like my 5th and 6th grade teacher, Miss Barbara J. Muhammad, who was also my father's favorite jazz singer, and who was the first person to recognize my true talents and hoped I used them. I would also ramble on about something only important to me. So today, I'm going to use my allotted time to discuss Voltron, the defender of the universe. For those of you who don't know, Voltron is created by taking 5 robot lions, black, red, green, yellow, and blue, and have them come together to form a giant robot known as Voltron. Think Power Rangers, only way cooler. When I was a child, the only thing I wanted to do more than anything outside of being a Ghostbuster was piloting a Voltron lion. The closest thing I could find was operating a tank. Now you might be saying to yourself, why not be an airline or helicopter pilot? My answer is, tanks do not have the option to fall out of the sky. They could, but not at the same height. And they never showed me what button to press to take 5 tanks and form a giant robot. I come from a long line of veterans to the point my bloodline calls military service and family business. As far as I know, the first veteran in my bloodline was my great-great-uncle who served in World War I. My grandfather enlisted as a radio man on a destroyer in the Pacific during World War II. My other grandfather served in Italy, where he met the Pope at the time. My great-uncle airdropped supplies during Korea, and my Uncle Kurt repaired ejector seats, and no one complained if they worked or not. My father, currently the only member of our family who went career, enlisted on Veterans Day and served during Vietnam. He also served on the DMZ in South Korea and during Operation Desert Storm on a post in Bitburg, Germany. It was there where he was told after the 100th phone call to quit calling headquarters and asking if he could go to the desert. They needed him where they said they needed him, regardless of his opinion. People wonder where I get it from. I currently have a nephew, my godson, who is serving in California. I enlisted at the ripe old age of 28. I was delivering produce at the time and came to a point where I told myself there must be more to life than this. When they asked why I decided to join the Army, I had three answers. My first was, I had nothing better to do. This was true at the time. My second was, where am I ever going to get to drive a tank? And my third answer, I wanted to support and defend the First Amendment to the best of my abilities. Where I was in my life, I wanted to do something meaningful, something I had never done before, and something I found impossible. I wanted to see if I had what it took to become a soldier. My father hated my decision to operate a tank, but there are times where you must defy your parents. I told my Joe I was going to quit and join the Army to drive a tank, and his answer was short and blunt. Go. I said, are you sure? He said, you aren't going to go any farther here, and you got to do what's best for you. Go. We're friends to this day. It was working on the tank I learned many things that I still use to this day. The first is you will spend 90% of your time doing something people will never see and be judged by the 10% that they do. The only person to see 100% is you. Working on the tank to be fluid and looking things up, to be part of a team, to know this hunk of metal and gears does not care who you are. Its job is to blow stuff up and run things over. There is a plate on the back of a tank you must get to and must remove to get to the engine fluids, affectionately called the female dog plate, because it is a female dog to get on and off. Learning the patience to get this plate on and off was a task. As the lowest member on the tank, it was my responsibility to care for the hull, keep the track lubed and tight so it did not fall off the road wheels, keep it fueled, and the engine oiled. And because I was driving, I took my duties seriously. My tank would have no issues getting Sergeant Fernandez, Specialist Gibson, and Specialist McNerney to the target and making it disappear. There is no greater feeling than controlling tons of steel at 45 miles an hour. Then they took my tank away, gave me a truck, and sent me to Iraq, where I stuck my head out of a hatch. I repeated this again in Afghanistan, only I was able to control the gun from the inside. On behalf of myself, my family, and my friends, I want to thank Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 5th Cavalry Regiment, 2nd Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division, for protecting me and bringing me home. Without you, I would not be standing here today. You were the ones who told me that I was smarter than the job I was doing, and I could do so much more. And because of this, I refuse to let you down or allow you to escape my memory. Especially Sergeant Ski, who kept my head in the game after I had to do my job. To Sergeant Plotz, who drank copious amounts of coffee with me as our world burned around us. And Sergeant France, who is still out there blowing stuff up. I am grateful for everything you have done for me, and if this is the only way I can repay my debt, so be it. After Afghanistan, the unit I was in was set to go to South Korea. My father gave me advice. When my father gives advice, there is a 50-50 chance that he is right, and a 50-50 chance I will take it. His advice was, if you no longer are having fun, get out. After 6 years, I was done. My wife, Jess, who when the world has beaten me into the ground, nothing is going right, and I feel hopeless and lost, gives me the best hugs ever and tells me everything's going to be okay. I hope you all have a Jess in your life. She suggested I use the GI Bill and go to college. My response was, you mean the one thing I have always wanted to do my entire life but never had the money or the time to do it, but I do now? She said yes, so I did. The writing was on the wall. I knew I would be in an administrative role and probably never get to really tank on the tank that I ever got to tank again. It was time for something new. My wife got me into listening to Dropkick Murphys, a band we have seen multiple times, and she made a flag for one of their shows. I display it proudly in the room she calls my bat cave. They wrote a song called Boys on the Docks, and part of the lines in one of their songs still resonates with me. Though it starts with your fist, it must end with your mind. This is where I am. My war was over, but a new one has begun. A quote from Lars Fredrickson. It was Dr. Lewis from the sociology department who discovered me at a community college where I was attending and working in the VA office processing education benefits. He brought me to this university where I earned a bachelor's in sociology. Jeff Hawks allowed me to do my internship at the Army Heritage Center under his watch. Dr. Kupfer, who is here today, and Dr. Buccitelli decided I was sharp enough to attain a master's in American Studies, what I am studying today. The rowdy bunch of superstar wrestling gave me the camaraderie I sorely missed when I was out of the Army, and through them, I met my broadcast partner, Jim. We started 80s Allies and Attic Light Productions together. I also have my support from the team from the MEPS, who have accepted me and all my quirks, and through them provided me with the motivation to become a focused leader, a proficient teammate, and a reminder of what right looks like. This is how I'm choosing to fight the war after the war. No one mentions the war after the war when you're finished with service. They thank you, then move on. To combat the war after the war, I must use my benefits. I must get an education. I must go to the laundry list of doctor's appointments. I do this for myself and for those around me. There are those who will not use the benefits or get the help they need. There is a predisposition seeking help is weak. It's frowned upon. There are veterans who want to give their benefits to the other guy who had it worse, even though the other guy has their own they can use. I theorize the reason for this is because of the word disability. We gave to our nation the best years of our lives and are being compensated for the physical, mental, and emotional stress. It does not mean we are broken, but there are those who are suffering and are continuing to suffer because they see the word disabled and assume that it is negative, or get so frustrated with the application process they just give up. We were athletes of a different nature, strapping 50% of our body weight on for as long as 18, 19, 20 plus hours a day in environments most will never see in their lifetime. We all come back with something, if we get to come back at all. My goal is for every veteran within the sound of my voice is for you to use your benefits. Imagine if we all did. Imagine the advancement in medicine, if veteran care was studied from head to toe. Imagine if the advancement of psychological study, joint study, blood study, and overall health. Imagine how many jobs would be created if all veterans used their benefits. More doctors, health care, professional administrators, shorter wait times, and less hoops to jump through. Imagine if all veterans used their GI Bill. The professional job market would experience a renaissance it has not seen in years. You do not need to use your GI Bill for college. You can use it for a trade school. The only reason why I'm in college is because I can't nail two boards together. You can become a plumber, an electrician, a mechanic, work in construction, law enforcement, become a truck driver or a firefighter, just to name a few. And if you have the mentality for academics, go get a degree in business, music, advertising, administration, science, technology, and history. Then all the veterans with these skills can go into the job market with the discipline and structure and have careers outside of the veteran-friendly manual labor jobs being offered. Veterans are good at picking things up and putting them down, but they're capable of so much more. We as veterans have an obligation to use our benefits because some of our brothers and sisters will never get to use theirs, either because they gave it all for the nation or lost the war after the war. We are in this together, and together we will succeed. My first Voltron was built by my father on the floor of a government housing apartment building in Neu-Ulm, Germany. I was told I could have it if I cleaned my room. Years later, I have cleaned many rooms, built my own Voltrons, and instead of operating a lion, became one myself. Remarks complete.